Hi, and welcome to lecture 13. In the last lecture, we learned about the OS library. Just like any other library, it provides the right tool for the right occasion. The OS name option tells us the name of the operating system we are using. The OS list directory option tells us all the file names in the folder. Besides these two options, what are the options we have? Well, there are a lot of them. There's no way that I will be able to teach you all of them individually. So today, I will show you how to get all the options inside a library. Remember the idle interpreter we used to use? We haven't used them much besides displaying our outputs. Believe it or not, they're actually very useful in finding out information. For example, we can use them to find out what tools we can get from a library. Let me show you how. If I import the OS library, you can type this command to find out all the tools inside the OS library. The directory of OS. See, these are all the tools inside the OS library. From here, you can find the two commands I showed you yesterday. The command name is here, see it? Which tells us the name of the operating system. And list directory is also here, which tells us the file name inside a folder. If you want to know what they do, you can even print out a brief description of them. For example, if I type in print os.listDirectory, the documentation, that's a double underscore, you have two there. It will say return a list containing the name of the entries in the directory. You're basically printing out the documentation for the list directory by typing this command. If I try os get cwd doc, this will tell me the current directory. So if you ever want to find out what directory, what path name you're under, which we haven't talked about path name yet, but we will, or folder I'm in, if I were to run this command, it'll tell you how to get there. os.getCWD. You can use this method to find out info about any library. Remember we used to use the tkinter library? Let's try that one. I will import the tkinter library first. Once we have imported it, let's find out the directory tkinter. Notice how we have the button command here? Yes, this is the same button command we've been using to create the buttons. And over here, we have the entry command. We use this command to create an entry box. You can find out the documentation of the entry box by typing print tkinter.entry.documentation. Or you can find out the sub-tools that the entry box has by typing directory tkinter entry. So you have these toolboxes, they are called libraries, and you have the tools inside the library, and the tools has sub-tools that you can use as well. Yeah, that's kind of a lot of tools, as you can see. Remember how we get the input from the entry box? Well, we always use the command get. You see how get is right here? So basically, using tkinter, you can get the entry box. And with the entry box, there are some functions that you can do with them. And get was an example of that. So with this concept under our belt, I want to introduce to you another library, the string library. The string library basically works with text manipulation. The reason why we want to use the text manipulation is because, well, our program kind of needs it. In the last lecture, we learned how to get all the file names inside a folder. The next step is to look at the name of the file and tell if we got a picture or we got a program. Remember, we only want to put the picture in the list box, not programs or folders. So how do we tell the difference between programs and pictures? Well, one obvious way is by looking at the name. All the pictures inside the folder, as you might have noticed, ends with .gif, while all the programs ends with .py. and the ones with nothing, they're probably folders. So from knowing this, we can check if the string ends with .gif. If it does, then we got a picture, and we'll put it in the list box. If it doesn't, we'll ignore it. So let's find out what options we have with the string library. So remember what I taught you? To find out the options, we type directory, dir, string. Inside the string directory, the command we need is called the find command. The way find command works is you give it a string and it looks for a pattern. The pattern we're looking for is GIF. If it finds .gif, it'll tell us where inside the string did it find it. If it didn't find this .gif, then it will tell you that it got a -1. Let me show you how this works. First, let's import the string library. Now, if I declare name as Lindsay and name2 as Chieh.gif. Now, if I try to determine if .gif exists in name, I will type this command. Find name .gif. See, name is the string, in this case Lindsay, and .gif is what we're looking for. Notice how it returned a -1. This means that .gif doesn't exist in the string. However, if I try to do the same thing with name2, it will return the value 5. So find name2.gif. The reason why it returned the value 5 is because there are 5 characters before .gif. Just count it. CHIEH. That's 5 characters. And then .gif. It basically tells you where did find command find .gif. We will use the same method to find out if a file is a picture or a program. Simple enough. From the last class, we learned that we can get the name of all the files inside a folder. Now that we have the name, we can check if they are pictures. Besides checking for this kind of function, there are several other options I should teach you while we're on this topic. You can change the word to uppercase by typing name equals upper name. Now if I print out name, it would change Lindsay to all uppercase. Of course, you can do the opposite and make it lowercase. So if you want to say name equals the lower name, this command will change Lindsay back into all lowercase. You can also strip a specific string. For example, I might not want .gif to show up. I might just want to have Chieh show up instead of Chieh.gif. So if I want to get rid of .gif at the end, I can use this command. Strip name2. Remember, name2 is Chieh.gif. And what we want to strip, which is .gif. Notice how .gif is gone from Chieh.gif. This is how you get rid of unwanted strings. This one time, I had to take my last name off a whole bunch of documents. I was very glad that I knew how to strip away my last name, or else I had to type it over again. So this is a very useful command. Also, you can also convert a number into a string by using the str command. For example, if I have number equals to 5, and I want this to be represented as a string, I will type the command str num equals to num. And the number now is in a string format. Like I have explained in the previous classes, it's easier to print string format, while it's easier to do math on numbers. Depending on your application, you want to change the format. To change a string back to an integer or a number, all you have to do is type int, and then put the number we just convert into a string, in the parentheses. And you'll get the number back. Or you can change it to a float by typing float num. Either way will work. This command turn string back to a number. All these functions are extremely useful for our future applications. You just might need them someday. Once, my boss gave me like 4,000 files and told me to convert all the names into uppercase. If I had to do them one by one, I would have been in big trouble. Instead, I pulled out my little Python program and used the upper command, and I did it in 5 minutes. It was beautiful. I also slept for the rest of the day, so it was great. So maybe we'll do a project just like that, just for the heck of it, after this one. We'll pretend that your boss just told you to do something ridiculous and boring on the computer over and over again. So instead of complaining, we'll do it in 5 minutes and sleep for the rest of the day. Anyway, for your homework,